Hello, friends and fellow guardians. John with Josh here, and we're in the throes of E3. And by the way, if you like hearing about all that other stuff, you can go over to thegeektank.com, which is a podcast I do, and we've been covering all the stuff at E3. So if you want to learn a bit more about other things other than Destiny, head on over there. We talk about Watch Dogs and the Xbox press conference and the Sony stuff, all the good stuff. Anyway, surprising release from Bungie today. There's a June update, and good googly moogly, it comes out tomorrow, everyone. Or by the time you're watching this, it's probably out now. This is exciting, but it's all, it's not, don't get too excited, it's not content or anything, but it is some weapon changes, some things that needed to be done, things for the Crucible. So there's two things happening in this update. One thing is that a couple of the classes and subclasses are getting slightly rebalanced, and some of the weapon archetypes are getting, well, nerfed, and maybe slightly buffed, depending on what it is. Just a couple things. Anyway, the first thing I'll talk about is the weapon tuning. Bungie is basically going to buff the hand cannons a little bit, and they're going to bring down the effectiveness of some of the auto rifles, like Doctrine of Passing, Soul Stealer's Claw, Arminius D. They are getting a huge nerf. The damage of the high rate of fire auto rifles is going down by 6%, which means they'll still have, you know, the kill power or the stun power that they have when you get hit by them. You'll be like, oh god, I'm being hit by something, but it's gonna take a little less or a little more time for them to kill you, not like the crazy bullet hoses they are now. So this needed to happen. Doctrine of Passing and Soul Stealer's Claw are basically everywhere. They're just destroying everything in their path. So I'm glad that this is happening, even though I still don't have a Doctrine of Passing. I still want one. Still trying to get one. Every time I do trials, it's not dropping. Either way. The ammo economy is changing a little bit. It takes less time to automatically grab ammo from the battlefield for you when you're running low. So that should help some of the people that are raiding, that are having trouble like trying to find ammo, you know, because I've had this happen too. Everybody's just running out of ammo on War Priest. The Hawk Moon is getting a slight reduction to its stability, so it's actually getting a slight nerf, not a huge nerf, but a slight one, because Hawk Moon, ever since the April update's been pretty beastly. It's been around in the Crucible a lot. I have actually used it a lot in Challenge of the Elders. It's a kind of ridiculous hand cannon, but it's getting a slight nerf. I think it should still be a really good weapon, so it should just be a little less effective in the Crucible. Counterbalance is being changed a bit. It used to change the recoil angle by 90%, which was kind of crazy. It still changes it by 80%, which is crazy, but Bungie cited that, you know, counterbalance almost made it seem like you needed it to have a good gun, and they didn't really want that to be the case, so they're tuning it down a little bit. And then there were some bugs that got fixed. Some exotic machine gun stability was ignoring base stats, so they fixed that. They fixed the problem with Defiance of Yasmin, which wasn't zooming correctly like it was supposed to in the April update, which made it a bit too effective in the Crucible. And they also fixed some UI bars on the Red Spectre that were having some issues. All in all, I think most of the things that you can look forward to in this patch is that hand cannons are getting a little bit of a buff so that you'll be able to fire them a little more often. But they are changing it so because they don't want you to be able to compete with people who are, you know, using scout rifles at a long distance. They don't want you to be able to Hawk Moon snipe people still. They mentioned that a lot of the accuracy for hand cannons comes down to the range boost. So they are trying to de-emphasize that a bit. So they are, you know, changing that a little bit. There was a small increase to PvE damage for all hand cannons, so that's a big deal. So that helps. And then they also made the damage fall off curve steeper at larger ranges. So hand cannons will still be the mid to close range weapons that they are. They're not going to be sniping things with Hawk Moon. Next up, we have some class balances. For the most part, the Hunter is what's getting affected here. They felt like there were some builds and perks that were just almost necessary that needed to get changed, so they're getting changed. And let's go through this really quick. So the gunslinger has had its swarm grenade basically buffed. They increased the arming radius by 0.5 meters, and the detonation damage has been increased by 7%. Also, trip mine, they realized, was basically the only option for some people. So they changed trip mine so that it no longer attaches to enemies, which is sad day. But it arms on impact and then bounces. And the trip mine damage was also taken down by 3%, so you won't, you know, be on the basically the brink of death after you get hit by it. So sad to see trip mine get nerfed like that, but at least swarm grenades get a little better. It makes me consider actually wanting to run swarm grenade a little bit, so that's pretty cool. Golden gun was feeling lackluster, I guess, in PvE, which is why no one ever ran it in PvE. So they have buffed the damage a lot. So the base damage has gone up by 50% and an additional 30% against AI combatants. So you're doing a whopping 80% more damage with your golden gun to AI combatants, which means that like you'll actually be able to use it in PvE and actually feel like you're doing something cool. Deadeye also now increases the golden gun damage by additional 30%. So golden gun actually kind of viable in PvE now, which is nice because it's a cool super and it feels, you know, totally useless in like Challenge of the Elders and stuff. So this is cool. This is cool news. The throwing knife has had its base damage reduced by 10%, so I don't think it will do as much as a full melee does now. The Circle of Life perk was modified so that precision kills with a throwing knife reduce the cooldown of golden gun. Circle of Life also no longer extends the duration of golden gun, and Circle of Life plus the 1 armor has been removed. So using Circle of Life will not give you the armor boost that it did before. Some other perk changes that they had for the Gunslinger, the Scavenger perk. They have increased the amount of grenade and melee energy awarded by 33%, so that's huge. Chain of Woe has had 1 recovery added, and Over the Horizon has had 1 recovery added. So overall, Gunslinger has been basically, some of the perks have been buffed so that they feel a little bit more viable, so that you aren't always just running trip mine grenades and stuff in PvP, and that golden gun is actually a viable option in PvE. So overall, it seems okay, you know. Blade Dancer, they've actually nerfed Blink a lot on Blade Dancer. So the Blink now incurs a -1 recovery penalty, and the Blink strike lunge distance has been decreased by 0.4 meters. The Arc Blade has had its base duration increased by 2 seconds. The hit search range increased by 0.5 meters, and they added a 0.8 second cooldown between Arc Blade swings while airborne. So you can take less swings, but it lasts a little bit longer. I don't know if this necessarily makes Blade Dancer less infuriating, but maybe it'll be a lot easier to get away from them with the 0.8 second cooldown on the swings. That's almost a full second. So you have to take almost a full second between swings while you're airborne. You can't just dash at people like you could before. So hopefully in PvP you'll actually be able to run away from some people when they're, you know, blade dancing. That would be nice. And there were some other things. Arc Blade generally getting buffed in PvE. You're now going to do an extra 30% against AI combatants. The Night Stalker is also getting changed. Some of the things that are well noted. The Shadow Shot now applies the suppression effect on impact. So if shooting someone with a super active, as soon as you hit them with the arrow, that super is going away. They're going to get the suppression effect. That's a nice touch. That 1 second could, you know, mean everything. So, very cool. The spike grenade damage was increased. The impulses per second was reduced, actually. Sorry, not increased. Reduced from 5 to 10. Spike grenade damage per impulse was increased by 100%, though. So the spike grenade getting a little bit of change there. The smoke ability had its impact damage increased by 34%, but the impact suppression and damage over time duration was reduced by 1 second. The Smoke cloud duration was also increased by 1 second, and the envenom cloud duration also increased by 1 second. So smoke getting a little bit of a buff. However, they took away the agility boost that you would get from vanish and smoke, and the snare cloud duration was also increased by 1 second. Yeah, that's basically it for the hunters. The Sunsinger Warlock is finally getting changed a bit. The arming time for the firebolt grenades is getting 0.2 seconds added onto it, and they decreased the victim search radius by 1 meter. So that alone is huge. But on top of that, Viking Funeral has been basically nerfed into the ground. No longer are the days of burning people to death, and it's sad. Anyway, the perk will no longer extend the duration of Ignite. Instead, it now causes those effects to weaken the target to other sources of damage, but not the Ignite itself. This will reduce the frequency and duration of the damage over time effect, but should allow the Sunsinger interesting build options involving Ignite. So basically, if you Ignite someone, you're not going to get the bonus dot damage. However, anyone on fire will take an extra 5% damage from all sources. So you'll basically be debuffing whoever you're hitting with this, and someone else can clean up your kills for you. So it's an interesting touch, I will say. But it's, yeah, you're going to be a lot less likely to burn people to death. Also, the Flame Shield has been changed. Bungie notes they added a minor delay to the activation time of Flame Shield. Ideally, this makes it so that there's a window of opportunity for people to win melee trades against Warlocks running this. Again, also kind of sad. But all in all, I think these are some good changes that needed to happen, especially on the PvE front, because some of the supers for a lot of the classes were feeling a bit lackluster in PvE and in raid and strikes and stuff, and now they actually will probably feel really cool, and you'll actually feel really powerful, you know, using hammers and stuff on you know, PvE enemies again, since you get that 10% damage boost and stuff like that. This is a cool little thing to come out of E3. Obviously, there's going to be some more Rise of Iron details coming out probably tonight. I will have a video about all of the Rise of Iron stuff that came out tonight, up tomorrow. So be sure to check in for that. And other than that, what do you guys think about these changes? Is there a change that you wanted to see but didn't happen? Do you think this is good? Let me know in the comments. Bye. Love you. Hey everybody, are you a fan of Disney movies, Star Wars, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, you should come check out The Main Street Bugle, a podcast about all three of those things, hosted by me. It's a weekly podcast, and it's available at this link that you see here and in the description.